In this Ultimate Team series, I make the best team I believe possible, picking players from all eras of NBA history. It isn't just about how talented the teams are, but I'm also trying to build teams that would gel and execute well together. Today, we're looking at the Ultimate Timberwolves team. Before I get started, here are the rules you need to know. To build each franchise's ultimate team, I will be picking a starting 5, a second unit representing each position, and then 3 additional rotation players at any position I choose. In total, there will be 13 roster spots. It's worth mentioning that I will not simply be building these teams based on how talented each player is, but I'll also be factoring in how well these players would do together as teammates. So without further ado, let's get into it. Starting at point guard is the talented 6'2" star Stephon Marbury. Marbury was a dangerous dual threat, as he was a solid scorer and a flashy facilitator. He had the ball on a string, equipped with a nasty crossover dribble that very few defenders could keep up with. He made the NBA's second rookie team, but his best year with Minnesota was in his sophomore season, where he averaged roughly 18 points, 9 assists, and 3 rebounds. Not only was Marbury a fantastic finisher around the basket, but he was great at hitting off-balance shots in general. He'll be providing plenty of excitement and energy for this underdog franchise. Starting at shooting guard is the 6'4" modern star Anthony Edwards. Ant is looking like he's on his way to being one of the future faces of the league. In only his early 20s, he's already displaying his ability to take over games both offensively and defensively, as he's one of the best shot-blocking perimeter players the league has to offer. In the 22-23 season, at only the age of 21, he averaged about 25 points, 6 rebounds, and 4 assists on 46% shooting from the field. He'll be a solid go-to option for this squad. Starting at small forward is the 6'7" competitor Jimmy Butler. As we all know, Butler's time in Minnesota was surrounded by drama due to all the butting heads. But on this all-time squad, he'll be surrounded by some like-minded competitors in the starting group, so it may not be as much of an issue. As you all know, he's one of the best two-way players that the game has to offer, and at his Minnesota best in 2018, he averaged 22 points, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 steals on 47% shooting. As usual, he'll be a solid go-to weapon when the games matter the most. Starting at power forward is the big ticket Kevin Garnett. His lone championship may have come in Boston, but there's no question that his individual prime was in Minnesota, where he was the 2004 MVP in a season where he led his team in every major stat category. He was not only one of the greatest defenders ever, but he was one of the best defensive leaders of all time, and that intensity and energy should rub off on this starting group. He also led the NBA in rebounding for 4 straight seasons, so he'll be providing plenty of second chance opportunities for this group as well. Starting at center is another all-time great defender, Rudy Gobert. He continues to be an annual Defensive Player of the Year candidate, as his rim protection is consistently elite. He's also been a top-tier rebounder and will be a quality lob pass option for Marbury as well. In his first full season with the Wolves, he averaged 13 points, 12 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks on 66% shooting. With his interior defensive impact, this starting group will have quite the all-around defensive resume heading into this ultimate season. Now on to the second unit. The backup point guard is the one known as Sam I Am, Sam Cassell. This 6'3" floor general was a 3-time champion and was quite the journeyman throughout his career. With that being said, his lone all-star season came in Minnesota, where he helped lead the Wolves all the way to the Western Conference Finals. That season, he averaged 20 points, 7 assists, and 3 rebounds. He was also known for his clutch plays, and as far as I know, he was the guy who started the big balls dance in the NBA. He'll ensure that the second unit will be in good hands. The backup shooting guard is the 6'5" high flyer Isaiah Rider. JR was quite the slasher, who had an amazing hesitation dribble. He also used his solid crossover to leave defenders in the dust. Beyond the fact that he famously dropped the East Bay dunk in the NBA dunk contest, he was also just a thunderous finisher in general. He'll be a solid spark of offense off the bench, as he averaged north of 20 points per game in 1995. The backup small forward is the 6'7" weapon Andrew Wiggins. He won the Rookie of the Year award in his debut season, and it seemed that the sky was the limit with his tremendous offensive skills. Although he never quite reached his full potential, he was still quite dangerous at his best, and in 2017 he played all 82 games, while averaging 24 points and 4 rebounds on 45% shooting. In the second unit, behind some solid wings, he'll have the opportunity to unleash his best in the few minutes he's out there. The backup power forward is the 6'8" All-Star Kevin Love. Many young fans don't know just how good this guy was with the Wolves, as he was an elite scorer, a three-point sniper, and an all-time great rebounder. He was also one of the all-time great outlet passers, which will mix nicely with all the athletic, up-tempo players on this roster. He even finished as high as 6th on the MVP rankings, and in that 2012 season, he averaged 26 points and 13 rebounds while making 45% of his shots. Garnett will have the starting position on lock, but Love will earn his own fair share of minutes. The backup center is the 7-foot scorer Karl Anthony Towns. If the team is ever struggling to produce offense from the center position, then Cat will make a proper substitution for Gobert. He's simply one of the greatest three-point shooting bigs in the history of the game, as he shot a career 40% from that distance. He's not the most grit and grind type of player, but he knows how to get a bucket, and in 2017, he averaged about 25 points and 12 rebounds while making 54% of his shots. Now on to the 3 rotation players. The first is the 6'3" point guard D'Angelo Russell. He's always been a solid dual threat, but his best seasons as a facilitator came with the Wolves, and that will be crucial considering how there's so many scoring-minded players on this roster. In 2022, D'Lo averaged 18 points, 7 assists, and 3 rebounds. He won't be asked to do much behind Marbury and Cassell, but he'll be effective in the small moments he's out there. The second rotation player is the 6'7" small forward Wally Szczerbiak. In the early to mid-2000s, he was the team's second best player behind Kevin Garnett, and he had an impact by being a legit floor spacer. He was an NBA All-Star in 2002, when he put up 19 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists, while making 51% of his shots, and a lethal 45% of his three-point attempts. Based on this team's needs, he might earn some extra minutes simply for his off-ball catch-and-shoot ability. The third rotation player and the last spot on this roster is the 6'10" big man Al Jefferson. He was one of the more underrated bigs of his era, as he was a consistent 2010 guy who just didn't get the shine. In 2008, he finished 4th for the Most Improved Player award, while averaging about 21 points, 11 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks on 50% shooting. With his fundamental and traditional style, he'll be a reliable substitution when he's called upon. So here's a final look at the complete roster of this Ultimate Timberwolves team. Considering how this franchise is statistically the most losing franchise in NBA history, and considering how this franchise has only been around since 1989, I'm actually surprised that this roster turned out as decent as it did. The starting 5 is quite the defensively minded group, which should keep them in some games. But relatively, I don't think they'll have the overall depth to make the playoffs in the West. Am I wrong? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, here is my list of honorable mentions, should any of these players have made the roster instead. I look forward to hearing your thoughts in the comment section below. Thanks for watching as always, make sure to like and subscribe for more basketball content, and I'll see you guys in the next video.